Welcome to the Marriage Unmasked podcast. Today, we're going to talk about what the number one responsibility of a wife in marriage is. And before your brain starts to take you down a bunch of rabbit trails, let me just say this is not about perfection. This is not about performance. And this isn't about you as a wife carrying all of this stuff. Really, we're actually going to be talking a lot about the opposite. So when I think of a wife, her responsibility in marriage, I think back to what I first learned, right? What I learned as I saw my own mom, as I saw other wives, and what I was learning is like, it is about doing. It is about serving your husband. And I saw some really unhealthy things where it's almost like the husband was incapable of doing basic things for himself. And I didn't really see him serving his wife. It was more about his wife serving him and making sure his food was hot when he sat down at the table and making sure that she didn't ruffle his feathers so that he got all upset and angry. She was keeping the peace. She was managing everything. I didn't see a lot of the wife relaxing and the husband taking care of her. I saw more of the opposite. That's really not God's ideal. That's not his plan. That's not what he intended for marriage. Because if you think about it, we kind of like to talk about how a man is the king and his wife is the queen. Yeah. And when you think about the king of the world, Jesus, he came to serve.
Yes.
We're not talking about a king on his throne here and his wife is rubbing his feet and bringing him what he wants for breakfast and then bringing him his coffee and bringing him his, and think about that, how Jesus came to serve. God gave us specific influences in our marriage. And for wives, the beautiful influence he gave was for you to have this power as a woman relaxed into her femininity, showing up in this really warm, encouraging, loving presence. And it's such a powerful presence. It really is. But so many of us women now, we're hurting. And so we're not relaxed into our femininity. That femininity is kind of buried under years and years and years of pain. It could be pain from even when you were little, and your needs weren't met when you were little. And so you learned to self-protect or put on this strength and not let that femininity out. It could be from in your marriage where there was pain there was maybe trust lost. There was not safety and you didn't feel like you could open up. I want you to think of it like a flower, the lavender flower. I love lavender. And let's say you have a lavender flower in a pot. And flowers, they're not going around doing a bunch of work, trying to fix, trying to manage, trying to control to be okay and to be beautiful. They're just there, right? They're just being what they were meant to be, letting off this beautiful fragrance, being beautiful, right, for people to look at, to enjoy. And then you can also use lavender in particular and a lot of other flowers for really, really cool properties, right? I have lavender essential oil. I use it for like everything. It's such a powerful essential oil. And so lavender in and of itself, it is just a really powerful plant. And it's beautiful to look at and it smells wonderful and all these things. And a woman, she's kind of like this beautiful flower, not that she just needs to sit around and be admired, but your power isn't in doing, carrying, controlling. Your power is really in relaxing into who you already are. The lavender flower is already beautiful. It doesn't need to go and put on makeup. It doesn't need to go and, clean the house, clean the ground around it or, anything like that to be powerful. It just is already. And so I want you just to think about that beauty that is already in you. And it's so powerful. A lot of times we as women in marriage, we are stuck in more of control versus the influence. And that influence is what's so powerful. That's really the number one responsibility, is just this beautiful feminine influence. And control, what that does is that pushes, that pressures, that creates this resistance where then we have a lot of conflict. We have a lot of pain happening between you and your husband. And that comes from control. Influence, it inspires, it invites, it creates openness. And that feminine influence works through connection. It works through connecting and through the warmth, through the safety. So it's a very different power than trying to force something. And I know for me in our marriage, there were many, many, many years where I was trying to force.
Yeah. So in our dynamic, in our marriage, as I was not very strong in my masculinity, Kara kind of moved into more of the masculine energy in the relationship. And she did. She started to control. She started to really need to manage everything and fix things and solve problems in the relationship, solve problems in the home with the kids or in parenting and all these things. And that took her a lot out of her feminine, that innate feminine energy that she has as a woman. And it put her more in a masculine energy, which then it wasn't that influence. It was more like that dominance, like needing to do things a certain way. So then we would butt heads. And then it became almost like a competition sometimes, or I would just give way and I would give up a lot of my responsibility in the relationship. I would pull back and I would just kind of let her handle a lot of things, which that was me stepping out of my role as well and out of my power as a man. But that was the dynamic that was then created between us. And Kara's real power was really in influence and in her softness and her femininity and her gentleness. And as I step into masculinity, as she steps more into femininity, that dynamic gets healed. And that dynamic really does feed off of each other very powerfully. Me as a man in my masculinity helps her to soften and be more feminine, and her feminine softness helps me to step into my strength as a man and really be more masculine. And so when we got that balance off, we were in a lot of struggle in our marriage because of it. And so getting that balance back is so powerful in really healing the relationship and in operating more in the way that God designed marriage to be. So a really powerful passage about this dynamic is from 1 Peter chapter 3. And it says, "Wives, in the same way, submit yourselves to your own husbands, so that if any of them do not believe the word, they may be won over without words by the behavior of their wives. When they see the purity and reverence of your lives, your beauty should not come from outward adornment, elaborate hairstyles, wearing of gold jewelry, or fine clothes. Rather, be that of your inner self, the unfading beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, which is of great worth in God's sight." And so it's really talking about that feminine energy and that quietness and that gentleness and that softness and the powerful influence that has over a man in a marriage. It's even saying, even if the husband doesn't believe, he might be won over just by the way his wife is showing up to the marriage, that softness and that kindness and that gentle spirit and reflecting God's love in the marriage. It may attract him towards God and God's love, even if he doesn't believe. So that feminine softness and that gentleness is just super powerful. It is amazing what it can do in the relationship. And that isn't passivity. That's not what we're talking about here. It's not. It's really, there's great strength to her gentleness, great strength to the way that she shows up soft and relaxed and gentle in the relationship. It's not like she's trying to silence her voice. I think society often gets this wrong. They can make it almost like a Stepford wife caricature of this kind of submission and also the gentle, soft, feminine nature. And they make it seem like she has to silence her voice. She can't say what she needs to say. She has to like almost be robotic and just do whatever her husband wants her to do. It's like this forced, submissive, like it's generally seen as a bad thing. That's not what the Bible's showing at all. It is talking about this powerful influence that a woman has. She's not losing her voice. In fact, using her voice in a very powerful way in the relationship by using it in this soft, influential way to change things and to help her husband to see things that he needs to change and grow in. She's still speaking the truth. She is still standing up for herself in the relationship. She's standing up for what she needs. She's not just a doormat that he's just walking all over. She is a very strong presence in the relationship. She's setting boundaries. She's very firm. She knows what she needs and she goes after what she needs in the relationship.
I think it's helpful to remember that this is not something that you need to do, right? Your number one responsibility of a wife in marriage is not to do. It is just to be who you already are. Think about the power, the influence that we have. It's kind of like you're the emotional thermostat in your home. Because I know for me, I've like walked into a room, something, upsetting happened and I'm carrying that still. If I haven't processed it fully and like all of a sudden I can see it reflected in my kids. I maybe snap at them and then they're snapping at me, or Adam's like gone silent because, right, they feel that temperature shift that I'm setting, and that can change the entire tone of the home. And it's a high calling, it's a high responsibility, but it's beautiful. Also, I've walked through some really low times in our marriage
Yeah.
where I was basically in survival mode. I was carrying so much. Adam was just kind of focused on work and he wasn't really present in our family. And just basically like, if you want me to do something, tell me and I'll,
Yeah.
like he would try to like help out, but I would have to manage that too. And so I was so exhausted and so drained. I was like in a survival mode and I was not showing up in a way that was setting a positive, life-giving environment in my home. I was grasping because I was tired and I was just trying to keep my head above water, and everybody could feel that. It was bringing a strain on the whole family. And then the shift from that to the healing that I've done and all that, it is a complete shift in our entire home. It is definitely in our
Yeah.
marriage because it's amazing how when I shifted from control to just accepting him and also just living from joy, living from overflow because I'm getting my needs met with God and understanding what's going on in my heart and processing my emotions, able to voice the things that I need with Adam. But it's so different. It's such a different energy I bring when I am in that relaxed posture, when I am really living out and I'm enjoying pleasure and I'm enjoying my life and I am living full and whole. It brings a totally different atmosphere to the marriage. And so that's kind of the difference here. It's not about, okay, you need to do better, you need to be a better wife, you need to act differently. It comes from a full, whole place. And I remember one of the things that I really would struggle with is for the first 10 plus years of my marriage, I never cried in front of him because I was in such a self-protective mode. I didn't feel like I could relax into him at all, that he had strength for me to lean into. And so felt like I had to be the strong one. And so I didn't open myself up emotionally to him ever. I didn't really even open myself emotionally hardly to myself or to God.
Yeah.
So it's now looked like sharing my emotions with him and knowing that it's beautiful for me to express how I feel and cry and have joy and all of that fully. My playfulness, that's all part of it and it's beautiful. Now I don't push down my emotions. And before I was demanding, you need to do this. Why have you not done this yet? It was more of that energy. And now it's like this inviting. I would love it if the garage could get cleaned. Would you help me with that? Inviting and then receiving that, being okay with asking for help and receiving and enjoying what he is giving to me or what God is giving to me or what anyone's giving to me. Femininity, it's enjoying that receiving. And I remember before I never wanted to ask for help. It was like, I thought asking for help was weak or that I needed to be strong. I needed to keep being strong so I wouldn't get hurt because I had been hurt over and over again when I felt like I was opening myself up a little bit. So it was this strong mentality. And so I wouldn't ask for help. And I also think I had like judgment for him and all kinds of things. So there's a lot under the surface here, but it's letting go of some of that. It's receiving, and it's this new perspective. It really is. It's a new perspective where you are seeing him almost even in a different way. You're seeing your husband in a different way. I was seeing him before as a problem, as a threat, as something I needed to fix or someone I needed to help. And now I am relaxed. I'm not grasping for him to be anything for me other than what he wants to give me. And so it's a different perspective. I'm looking for how he is providing. I'm looking for how he is giving me things that I want to receive. And I'm enjoying those things. So it's a different shift, and things that I would say now maybe is like, what do you think? Whereas before I didn't even care what his perspective was because I was too busy soldiering on, trying to figure it all out myself. Now I want to ask him, what do you think about this? Or letting him take some of that burden off my shoulders. I trust you to make this decision. I don't need to make all the decisions, right? Or can you help me with this? Like there's a big mess downstairs. Can you help me by taking them down there and getting that cleaned up or whatever? So it's just different. It's a shift there.
Yeah, and it's a powerful shift. I remember those days because I used to wonder, like, why doesn't she ever cry? Like I was like, my sisters cried, my mom cried, like I saw women crying, but my wife for many years of our marriage was never crying. And I just always kind of chalked it up to, oh, she's so strong, that masculine energy kind of strength. I actually, for many years, kind of backed out of a lot of my responsibilities. I didn't think I could do it the way she was doing it, or that I had space, or there was that invitation for me to really step in, or if I did do them, that they would be a way that she would approve of. That's all part of that dynamic shift. it has been so powerful for us to get this dynamic different and for her to soften into that. And now I see her crying, and it's like, it warms my heart to see my wife cry. Like it touches me in a deep place when I see my wife get emotional, when I see her softness, when I see her like relaxing, or when she's asking me and she's giving me that space to step into leadership. It touches a deep nerve inside me as a man. And it makes me want to rise up. It makes me want to step in and be strong for her, to hold her when she's crying, to comfort her, to be an emotional rock for her, to step in and take over some of the responsibilities. Before, I was just like, well, she's super strong and she wants to do it all this way, and I'll just let her take care of it. But now it's like, oh my goodness, yes, I want to be there for her. I want to be a man for her and be strong in this relationship with her. Her femininity is a massive superpower in the relationship. It really is. And it comes through in the way that she encourages me as a man, and honors me and respects me and appreciates me. Like, those things really matter. They make a huge difference. Like I was saying, that really touches a nerve in me. When she does those things, it really fuels me on. I feel like I could take on the world. Like, I go to work with a whole different attitude. When I have the encouragement of my wife, I know she's got my back. I know she loves me, and that she's soft and she's gentle and she's encouraging me and honoring me. I go out into the world and I feel like I can take on anything. Like, I could walk on coals for it because it is so empowering for me. It just fuels a husband on to really step into more of his masculinity and more of his power in the relationship and in life.
Mm-hmm. And I know for me, before, I wanted him to step into his masculinity, but I didn't understand that softness inspired that. And it was actually more effective than me saying, why don't you lead anything? Why don't you help out? I thought that was somehow going to click something in his brain where he'd be like, oh yeah, I need to do that. And so I was doing more of that pushing and forcing and controlling. But this is really way more effective. And trust me, I've been there. I've tried both. And this is way more effective. Not like this is the goal, is to get your husband to do that, but it's like a beautiful byproduct. And if you're, listening and you're like, okay, I am struggling. I am more in this pushing and forcing and controlling. I'm really struggling. I get it, because you're hurting. Sometimes what gets in the way of you relaxing into your femininity is just, it's the pain that's over the top, and it's kind of covering over the beautiful femininity. It is there. You have it. You have this inside of you. It's just that, other things sometimes cover over it. It might even be beliefs about femininity or beliefs about women. Maybe you have a fear of being powerless. I think for a while that was me. I grew up in a very unsafe environment, and so that was part of it for me. Was I wanted to be strong. I always wanted to be safe, so I was going to keep myself safe if I needed to. And that's what I ended up feeling with Adam, was like, okay, he's not going to keep me safe. I have to do it myself. And so sometimes it's that fear of being powerless or getting stuck in that self-protection where you think, okay, yes, I'm going to protect myself, but then that self-protection really shuts down your natural power. It's actually not powerful. We think this is going to be so powerful, and it might be a subconscious thing, right? But you're like, okay, if I stop sharing my heart, if I numb out, if I check out, and I don't share things anymore, I don't ask for him to meet my needs anymore. Those are all kind of signs of that self-protection, and it's actually not powerful, because you end up feeling hurt and alone, and you're not protecting yourself from anything. It's painful. If you've gone through years of pain in your marriage or in other areas of your life, even, this can still impact you. If you didn't know how to heal those hurts, your heart hasn't been cared for, and it's like you're that beautiful lavender flower, but you're wilting. You're kind of closed up, drooping, and it's not that you don't have that beauty in you, it's just that it's hurting, and it's being affected by all this other stuff that's over the top. There's not something wrong with you if you are noticing that you're not really relaxing into your femininity right now. There's nothing wrong with you, but it's information, and your heart needs attention. That's really what's needed here.
And the healing process really starts by becoming aware of this dynamic, becoming aware of some of these things. So use this podcast now.
Yeah, you already have that awareness because you're seeing it in yourself, right?
So, yeah, the first step is that awareness. And then it's really like healing and regulating your nervous system and calming it down and making it feel safe again, creating safety in your body and releasing control and not having to manage everything.
Think of it again like that flower, and that flower needs care. If it's wilting, it needs extra care. Maybe more sunlight, maybe more water or less water, or a new dirt, more nutrients, whatever, right? And you don't have to wait for him to water you. That's great. That's important. That's needed for a marriage, but your healing doesn't depend on him.
Yeah.
You can learn how to create safety with God by yourself. You don't need him to create safety. You can regulate your nervous system yourself, and you can heal these wounds with God. He is the healer, and he wants to heal you. He wants you to be full and whole. And it's such a beautiful thing. And you don't have to wait for him to take care of your heart. That is what's needed first.
And this absolutely doesn't mean that you're going to accept abuse or that you're going to silence your voice or your needs in the relationship or in the family. Like if your husband is in sin, you do need to call him out on that. You're not ignoring those things. You're not silencing your own needs in the relationship, nor are you carrying the marriage alone. It also doesn't mean that you're pretending or you're just kind of going through the motions of what you think this should look like. You're actually just healing the things that are really hurting inside and able to step into this authentically.
Yeah, remember, it's not about doing. It's really about just being. So much of femininity is slowing down and being present, and that in itself is so healing. I have so many deeper parts of this in my Femininity Restored course. That's exclusively available to wives who join my Restored membership. I get deep into this and what it looks like, but I keep reminding them over and over, this isn't something you need to do. This isn't, okay, I need to try to be more feminine. No, I need to try to be more soft. No, it is a natural outflow. It will pour out of you naturally because it is already who you are. As you start to heal, as you start to relax and you start to enjoy that safety and heal the hurt and all that, it naturally comes out. So this is not something you need to shame yourself for or tell yourself to do better in. Nothing like that. The goal is not to be better or make him love you more, be more lovable. You don't need to do that. You already are perfectly loved. This is about your heart, your heart's posture. That matters. Your peace matters. Your healing matters. Your needs matter. And your influence is never wasted. When you are relaxed into who you are and you are living full and whole, that is never wasted. His behavior, and that does not reflect back on who you are. That's all on him, right? He is responsible for his own behavior.
Yes.
You are responsible for your heart, and you get to enjoy all that God has for you right now. You are a woman of peace, of strength, of influence, big, beautiful influence. That softness and that strength, they go hand in hand. There's not one or the other. You're not soft or you're strong. I used to think that strength was something very different than softness. I never even understood softness, because if you don't have a woman in your life or women who were relaxed in their femininity, which I did not have, I don't remember that really ever, then you even understand the concept of this. One of the hard things about society today is that a lot of women aren't taught, or they're not given the environment where they are relaxed in their femininity, and men are not taught or modeled masculinity and that strength.
Yeah.
And so that's the hard part about it. But the awareness is here now for you. And so you get to choose how you move forward. You get to choose healing. You get to choose to, take the burdens off that have covered over that femininity and let it back out again. And it reminds me of Esther in the Bible. She had so much power and influence over the king. She used her power and her strength, but she was wise about it. She prepared. She was thoughtful. She was soft and respectful, and she chose her timing, with wisdom. She's a beautiful example, I think, of femininity in the Bible. I imagine that the king was so delighted by her, right? He couldn't help but give her what she wanted. He was so delighted by her. And that's really the influence we have over our men, is when we are showing up as we already are, that just, boom, that moves him in a big way. But often we think it's the opposite. We think it's the, the forcing, all that's going to move him. But no, it isn't. It is you just relaxing the beautiful woman that you already are.
Yeah. And I mean, for us as guys, her femininity really flourishes best in the environment where a man is very strong, where he's very much in his masculine. He's providing structure and safety and strength for his wife, then it's like having like a garden wall for the flower. It protects the flower. It's like the pot for the flower. I don't know how to say it, but it's like there's structure and there's safety there. There's an environment there that then allows that flower to bloom and blossom and to do what it does best. And that is really what we can provide as men, is that strength, that stability, that safety. And her softness also inspires that strength. As I was mentioning before, it inspires that strength and that leadership and that provision. And so they work together so powerfully. But we as men have to remember that. If you really want your wife to be very soft, now, yes, she can do that on her own, but what a beautiful thing for us as men to really step into our strength, to provide the structure, to provide that safety for her, to really blossom in that femininity and to be everything that God designed her to be, as we step into everything God designed us to be as men in our masculine strength. That's why we love our memberships so much. Kara's Restored membership for wives is so powerful in teaching and embodying femininity. And my Refined Men's membership is also really powerful. I have a course as well on inner healing for men, which helps to remove some of those lies and those things that keep us stuck outside of our masculinity and really get back to the core of who we are as men and who God made us to be. And so these are just powerful communities where we can get healed in these areas and then bring that healing to our relationship as well. If you want more information on those, definitely check out the show notes for more on those memberships. And we hope this was a really powerful episode for you. We hope that you had some big takeaways and that you're really excited to relax into your femininity, and men, that you're excited to step into your strength as a man. And stay tuned, because we are going to have another episode next week on the number one responsibility that a man brings to his marriage. But we hope you enjoyed the episode. Please share it, hit like, subscribe to the podcast if you don't already, and we'll see you on the next episode.